Hello and welcome to Contra Mundum. I'm Andrew Isker and this is CJ Engel over there. And he's finally here. He was attacked by anti-heritage American elements, keeping him from being here with us on time. But he's here now. He's made it. And today we are talking about everything that's happened in the last week. We really should have been live like earlier in the week, but we got a lot going on. We'll get to that later. But it's Jover, right? It's Jover for Joe Biden.
All right.
Now we got Kamala.
All right. So
Jacqueline Kamala is the presidential candidate. Yes, sir.
was his speech AI or was it real?
I don't know.
Have you seen like the analysis,
like the watch and
yeah.
I mean, how do we know in the age of AI?
How do we know
if anything is real?
Are
you real?
Years. He's been dead for years. That's
maybe. Has anybody seen him? The chat can tell us if they've seen him, in person anywhere. Like, he doesn't hold public rallies. He doesn't do I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna, go too schizo and get deep into the conspiracy weeds about Joe. Yes, Nathan, I made it. It wasn't me. I ran into Nathan Hutzel at Menards. I'll put it right on the screen here. He's like, glad you made it home from Menards. Yes, I'm working on the house, trying to get it ready to sell.
What's Menards?
Menards, well, here's the thing, CJ. It's where you go to save big money on home improvement things. And
it must be is it a Minnesota thing?
It's Wisconsin, but it's a Midwest place for buying all of your home improvement things. It's not a paid sponsor, unfortunately, of Contra Mundum podcast, but that's where I was right before I went on. I thought I was going to be late, but you were.
I was late. So you had a big announcement, and we haven't talked about it yet.
Yes, I am going to Tennessee. I'm going to Tennessee. To undisclosed location at this point in Tennessee. To we're building a town, right? We're building a community there, a church, and buying, new founding Ridge Runner, buying lots of property, and I'm all in. I'm moving there. I'm getting out of Minnesota.
So the other news adjacent to that is starting in September-ish, October-ish, this show is going to be live together.
In person.
We're going to have our own recording studio in Tennessee.
Yeah. So that means you're going to be like flying in every week from California?
What I'm going to do, Andrew, is I'm going to fly in once and stay.
Oh, nice.
I'm leaving California. I can't believe it, but yes, I'm coming to Tennessee too.
Whoa. So you're telling me now for the first time.
We're both moving our families out there. And you're doing your thing, and I can't let you do that alone. So we're gonna come. We're gonna build the town together. We're gonna have a recording studio with Contra Mundum background. We're gonna be together with like the premium equipment. It's gonna be legit in the same spot.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. There'll be. I mean, we won't spoil what the recording studio is gonna look like. It's gonna be awesome. I mean,
it is. It's gonna be better than Joel's.
I was gonna say maybe better than Joel Webbins. I don't know. I mean, we'll give him a hard time here in case he listens. It's gonna be way better than Joel's. But it is. It's happening. It's gonna happen this fall. We're going there, and I'm super pumped. David asked how much to buy land at Ridge Runner. Well, the tennis if you want, you could get land in Kentucky, which won't be far away from where we'll be. You can get that now. The Tennessee land is not yet available. It will be in September or October, somewhere around there. And so, yes, Nathan, there will be lots of houses to paint. That's a thing to keep in mind. Maybe you want to head down there too, Nathan. And unfortunately, there's no Menards in the area. We won't meet up there.
Why don't you answer Striker's question, and I'm gonna scold my kids for knocking at the window. Hold
on. Yes. So Striker, yes, sir. I'm leaving Minnesota permanently. We're picking up our roots and going to Tennessee. And I've had a video on Twitter that I put out. I guess I should have put it out here on the YouTube channel as well. But it is not an easy decision to make. We've been here. My children will be the sixth generation of my family that has lived in this town, and that's hard, right? It's really difficult to leave, but Minnesota is way worse than people realize. Like everybody thinks CJ State is awful, California, but everything Gavin Newsom does, Tim Walz does as well. Right? Literally, right? All the craziest bills, like the bills about taking children away from taking custody of people, their children, when they over transgenderism, that's happening in Minnesota too. Giving illegal immigrants driver's licenses, that's happening here. I mean, every single crazy thing that Gavin Newsom does, Tim Walz is right there with him. Sometimes he does it even before, right? The abortion bill that the state legislature passed, where it's fully legal for any reason, no parental control over it, right up until birth, right? The baby can be in the birth canal, and you can just kill it. That's legal in Minnesota, as well as California. I mean, just atrocious stuff in this state. And the state government is not going to get any better. The Republican Party in Minnesota, I mean, say what you will about the Republican Party generally across the country, it is one of the very worst. Totally corrupt, totally worthless. All they care about here is making sure the highway funding for their buddies back in the district gets, or the grants for different things for their buddies at the Chamber of Commerce or the Rotary Club get their things in. Like that's all they care about, right? There's zero will to fight among elected officials. There's very few churches. I mean, there are some really good pastors here in this state that are courageous, but they're very few and far between. Yeah. And there's zero will at large to push back against these things. There's a drag queen story hour 20 minutes from my house here every summer.
The thing is, though, is like everybody realizes how bad the left is. Conservatives realize like how insane things are getting, but like there's just no will to defend their own heritage among the conservatives. Yeah. They are not willing to fight. They're like, it's like they have. I mean, 10 years ago, we could have completely shut this down, and there's just no willingness to do it at all. They all want to just go retire and run away. It's like they all talk about how, the revolution, like the American Revolution, we would have been fighting by now. No, you wouldn't, because you don't get your guns out and go LARP as a soldier. What you do is get engaged in politics and employ power, and no one's willing to do that.
Yeah. A comment here from Euclid. It absolutely is a real thing. Minnesota Nice, is it a real thing? Absolutely it is. And that's one of the problems, actually. Like 10 years ago, I mean, CJ talking about 10 years ago in California, 10 years ago in Minnesota, there was a Republican governor. 10 years, 2014. Yeah. 2014, Tim Pawlenty was the governor of Minnesota, right? He ran for president, actually.
Oh, man, I remember that guy.
And there was a majority in the House and the Senate, or 10 or 12 years ago, whatever it was, not that long ago. And what did they do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like they got us. I shouldn't say nothing, right? We got, despite them actually, concealed carry law in this state, right? Mm-hmm. That was their one accomplishment, right? That they achieved, but they did nothing to ensure their own power. Right. That is that's the problem. Like they even I remember writing my state senator repeatedly, Republican state senator in my district after 2020, because there was still a majority in the state Senate of Republicans saying and right every year or every biennium, what they're able to do is shut down the state because they control the budget. Right. So you can bypass the governor, you can bypass the House. Right. Just if you hold the caucus together in the Senate on a singular goal. And I said, you absolutely have to pass voter ID in this state if you ever want to maintain power and have a Republican governor or Republican legislature. And what do I get back for all my emails? Right. Thank you. Thank you for caring about whatever, like whatever is legislative aid sends me a reply. Right. No interest in it whatsoever to
now, if you
do what needed to be done.
if you are donating funds, they would be very happy to talk to you.
Maybe he would talk to me, but even if I give him
Yeah.
$500, like he doesn't care. Like his buddy who he goes drinking with that owns a big construction company or something, or owns a factory, right? He'll listen to that guy, right? Those guys don't care. All they care about is like, oh, am I going to still have my tax breaks, right? That's all they care about. They don't care about like fundamental political questions of power, and it's like if you just pass voter ID, the tens of thousands of blank ballots that the Somalis get harvested in Minneapolis, that wouldn't be a thing, right? You would be able to constrict their power massively, and but they don't care,
I want to
right?
answer this question.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, it's not the most effective thing is not to blame just the mass voters, like everybody that votes. I blame specific voters. I blame the leaders, the church leaders, the leaders of like businesses and guilds and clubs, anybody who's seen as having the ability to influence people and lead them and have authority in people's lives. Those are the people that I think take a lot of the blame here, because they're the one that could have rallied the mass voters together. I mean, everyone makes fun of Barack Obama for being a community organizer, but how do you think they like created a tidal wave of like a cultural revolutionaries in the voting booth? By community organizing. So this is the role of pastors and business leaders and people that want to play nice and get along with everybody, and they're not willing to engage in political struggle.
Yeah. This point by Logan, a couple of people are replying to it, right? I've been surprised by the amount of pearl clutching about y'all. I got to start saying y'all instead of you guys. Y'all moving, especially from the gospel only folks. Fleeing persecution was like one of the first things the early church did. LOL. LOL indeed, right? I mean, literally Jesus tells them in Matthew 24, right? It's going to get really bad. You're going to know it's really bad. You got to get out of town, right? He tells them that, right? And some of this too is like, it's the question of, right, I could stay here in my town, which I love, and I love my people in my church. I love them dearly, and it's hard to leave them, right? I don't want to leave them, but right, if I'm going to do the things and use what God has given me and the blessings that I've been given, and to maximize them at the highest level I can, I need to build things with many people. I need to build institutions, right? I'm not going to be able to build any kind of institution in a tiny rural town that's beleaguered. Like even if I was, like, even if suddenly thousands of people moved to Waseca, Minnesota to come be part of the church and build our town here, or the very first thing that would happen is everyone's businesses, our church, whatever, if we build a school, whatever, Keith Ellison is going to show up and subpoena everything we've ever done, right? I mean, the same thing that happened to VDARE, right, would happen to anything we would try to build here, right? You moved to Minnesota to be part of our church, right? Guess what? You're going to be the subject of all sorts of investigations, and your business will be, right? Right. Our enemies have power here, and we know that they are willing to destroy us. And so the possibility of building, like, so this one guy, like Adriel Sanchez, or I don't even know what his name was, some PCA guy, is starting to chirp at me about this, and it's like, dude, if you were doing anything significant in California, like, Gavin Newsom would destroy you in a heartbeat, right? You're able to complain about me because, I mean, just look at like Joel, for example. I think this guy criticized Joel leaving California as well. All these guys do. Right. Joel has a target on his back, right? Right Wing Watch is constantly retweeting him. Do you not think the Attorney General's office in California, right, doesn't see Right Wing Watch and would begin investigating him for anything and everything, try to take his kids away? Of course they would, right? You people do not realize what time it is, and if I'm going to do anything more than I'm already doing, right? If we continue to build things and God blesses it, right? The knives will come out for us where we are. You have to be in a place where that is not going to happen if you're going to build anything. And And I don't think many people, adequately understand that. And certainly like the political culture and the politics and the culture of where I am. Like I'm in rural Minnesota, right? The county that I'm in, voted for Trump at like almost 70%. Like there are a lot of great people here, right? You can build things here with these people, but there isn't the infrastructure to do it. And the cult, even though they vote the right way, culturally they do not want to engage, right? They
Hmm.
do not want anyone to think they're a bad person, right?
Hmm.
That is the Midwest to a T. Like I'm an outlier, right? People ask me that all the time, like, Andrew, you're from Minnesota, but you're not nice. and, and it's like, no, I can't be. I like in person I am. Like you hang out with me, I'm a fun guy to hang out with. But like I'm not
Can't wait to do
I'm not
that.
going to be nice. Yeah, like, and you can come to Tennessee to do that. But I'm I can't be. Like, look at the things they're doing. How could you not? How could you? Oh, we want the other people on the other side that want to take our kids and chop off their genitals, right? We want those people to like us and think we're good people, right? That's insane.
Yeah.
That's nuts. And that's the ethos that the evangelical critics that I have. Right. Well, you just need to stay and suffer persecution. It's like, maybe you want that for your kids, man. I don't. I don't want them to suffer, right? I mean, we are in Russia in 1916 or Spain in 1935, right? That's the environment that we are in. And you need to situate yourself in a place where you are going to have people all around you that are going to defend you. You need to have local and state government that is going to defend you. And don't have that here, right? And many of you listening probably don't have that as well, right? I mean, I was 60 minutes away from the mostly peaceful demonstrations in Minneapolis 4 years ago, right? 4 years ago, right? This time 4 years ago, and right, you think that didn't have like an effect on my thinking, right? Tim Walz is letting these like battalion level strength burn down entire police precincts without defending them whatsoever, right? Well, if 5,000 people come down the road to my little town, right, they could do whatever they want to us, right? And there's nobody there to stop them, right? There's no government to stop them. You can't like comprehend why we wouldn't want to be in an environment like that. Oh, am I gonna like be like John Piper and like, oh, this is an opportunity to share the gospel to with these people, right? Isn't that wonderful, right? No, that is nuts. That is insane. I'm not an Anabaptist. I'm
Hmm.
sorry. I want to go somewhere where we can build, and my efforts to build these things will bear fruit, right? That's why, right? And so I just don't have a whole lot of time for people that are critical or like, oh, you're a coward, you're afraid of these people. It's like, well, if it was just me, if I'm on my own, whatever, right? People, they can do whatever they want to me, but I've got little kids, man. I
Yeah,
don't.
there's also this idea that like we're not I mean, these are strategic retreats,
Yeah,
right? You're not headed for the caves. You're headed for let's go build something. Like that's a
yeah,
completely different mindset. The other thing is like there's this idea. I mean, I think the bad mindset is like, you know what? Democracy is going to do what democracy is going to do. We're just going to keep voting. We're just going to pretend like it's 1970 and everything's just pleasant. Like that. That's the okay. That when I say optimism is cowardice,
yeah,
that's specifically what I'm referring to. Is you
yeah.
can't treat the world as if everything's going to turn out in the end. Democracy is strong. It's got the enforcement mechanisms. We're going to be okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It is. We are in a political and cultural struggle that is going to last for another 200 years, right? That's the thing that people need to keep in mind. And yeah, like this comment from Logan Church Owens. It's weird that Piper is that way. He lionizes the Puritans. Yes, he does. The American Puritans left England. They fled, and not only that, right? I mean, Piper famously is like, right, if the robber comes into my house and he wants to steal all my stuff and rape my wife and all these things, I'm going to stand by and not oppose him. I'm not going to fight him because Jesus said turn the other cheek. And I'll pray that God changes his heart. Right, that's his attitude. And it's like, yeah, he lionizes the Puritans. Like, do you know what the Puritans actually did when they came to New England? right? They were in a very bloody war with the native Native Americans, or the Native American, the Indians, come and steal their wives and steal their children, slaughter everybody, right? And they go back and they fight them back, right? And go to their villages and burn them down and fight this brutal war, right? That's what the Puritans did, right? So, right, you can't be this Anabaptist and be like, I'm going to be like the Puritans, right? They left and started and built their own thing from a position of strength, and we're willing to fight for it, right? That's why, right? And so yeah, which I'm not saying that's what we're going to do. We're not going to go, start a war with the Indians in Tennessee, right? That's we totally eschew all criminality and violence and things of that nature. But what I am saying is, right, that's the spirit that they had. Like these are people that were warriors, right? There were a lot of Puritans that stayed behind. And what happened in England to the ones that stayed behind? What did they? Do you know what they did, CJ? You're a historian,
No,
right?
I mean, eventually they gayified them.
Well, we're not. I mean,
Oh,
like
okay.
within the 17th century, what did they do? What did they do?
I mean, they persecuted them.
Well, they persecuted them until what happened? There was a
Civil War.
yes, and they were led by a Puritan general
Yeah.
named Oliver Cromwell. Right? That's what the Puritans did. Right? They weren't just like, oh,
Yeah.
well, just come and attack us and we'll be okay. Right? Like they engaged in politics.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They engaged in politics to the point that they cut the king's head off. Right? That's what they did. Right? And so yes, we should lionize the Puritans. Right? We should have the same spirit as them. Right? Not in the mold bug sense, but in the actual sense of what they truly did accomplish. Like there is no America without them. Right.
Yeah.
Truddle. They also own slaves. Oh no. Yes. There is no America without these people. Right. Without them braving what they did to found a new country. Right. That
Yeah.
is
For
that
me, it's like,
that's what we want.
I mean, it's the same thing for me. It's like Californians, they should have done this when Nixon was alive if they wanted to do something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the whole country is behind California. Minnesota is probably one of the top
Yeah.
5 really bad places. It's completely subverted.
Yeah.
Oregon, New York. I mean, there's other places like it, but
Illinois. Yeah.
California is like the global engine of like the gay American empire. I mean, literally,
Yeah.
it's right here. So I'm going for the same reasons. It's like, look, if I don't go in 10 years, my kids will have to, and then I'll never be able to watch my grandchildren grow up. So
Yeah.
I'm making this decision now so that I can have that moment in the future. And also like being allied together with you. And there's others involved. And I know Josh personally. And while I'm not officially associated with Ridge Runner, like these are my people. And I'm doing this together with allies and friends, and our children can grow up together. And it's a place where that they can be um, inheritors of what our decisions, and that we can engage politically. We always talk about engaging politically, and this is the opportunity that we have to do that. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I mean, I'm moving in 4 weeks, and I'll be
Yeah.
over there, like with you, and I'm going to have the
Yeah.
Chronicles Magazine podcast run from the same, uh, um, place where we're doing our Contramundum, and there's a lot of
Mhm.
other things that we haven't mentioned yet, but we're going to build, and we have
Yeah.
a lot of things that we have going, and we're excited to see what happens with it. So
Yeah, so like this comment from Stryker, this is one I get from people a lot is right, as an Illinois resident, do you think I have an obligation to leave? Well, I don't
no,
know your exact situation or anything like that, but like it's funny because a lot of people, like the critics, are like, no, you have an obligation to stay, right? They talk in these terms. It's almost like and maybe we'll talk about this later, but the the abolitionist argument on the election versus like mine, right? They're very firmly, and many, not all of them, many of them are like, no, you like your conscience is bound, right? If you vote for Trump, you're sinning. Um, and they think about it in those categories, right?
yeah,
Where if you do this, you're sinning, or if you don't do that, you're sinning, right? That you have an obligation from God to do exactly this thing or that thing. And the pietists that criticize me, they're like, you have an obligation to stay till the bitter end, right? Never leave, right? You're abandoning the gospel if you do that. Um, but if you, I mean, I would say, right, in terms of prudence and wisdom, right, if you can get out, right, if that is available to you, right, you should, right. I mean, maybe you're in a situation where you can't, you have elderly relatives or things like that where you've got to stick it out for whatever reason, whatever your circumstances are. Some people can't, but I think if you can, you should. I think ordinarily, right, what are we trying to, like, it's the question of, I mean, just the question of like what America is today. I mean, I write about this stuff in my book where we're all these like atomized individuals, right, that are deracinated from everything, and we live these like totally mercenary lives where it's like you live here or there, it really doesn't matter where you live, um, and you're cut off from any roots, you're cut off from family, from extended family, or they've all moved away. Like there is no sense of normalcy, there is no sense of rootedness and tradition, and oh, I mean, a huge reason to want to do this, to want to go somewhere else, is so that we can have that once again. Where, like
Mhm.
CJ is saying, right? I want to be in like my kids. My oldest is 12, and I mean, in a decade, right? My older kids will have grown, and they will, go to college or have a job, and they're going to be somewhere else, right? There isn't much for them to do in my town, right? Even if they want to stay here and they love it, um, there isn't there aren't opportunities for them to stay. They don't have a large network of friends and children they're growing up with, and so they're just going to do what everybody else has done, what everybody always does, right? You go to the big city, you get a job, or you go to some other city and have a job there, and yeah, I won't see my grandchildren, and I want that, right? I want my family to have the ability to live where we are and stay there for many generations, right? That's a big component of this as well,
Mhm.
and that's simply not possible here.
Yeah.
And so that's yeah, I think all I got to say about that. We can talk about those things more maybe when we're down there, when we're down in Tennessee and in the hills and the hollers. But we spent half the episode on that, which is good, which is great. We were gonna talk about all the events that have happened, a lot besides just me moving. Right,
Mhm.
I'm not the biggest story of the week, surprisingly enough. Right, the last time we recorded, right, we talked about like JD Vance and the RNC and the things that happened last week, and then right Sunday, right, what were you doing Sunday when you found out that Joe Biden, when you saw the tweet, right, he drops out via tweet, right, X post, right, what were you doing when you found out that Joe Biden was no longer running for president?
Let's see. What day was that?
Sunday.
Um,
It would have been like Sunday afternoon for you.
I don't remember what I was doing, but what was I doing? I was probably I mean, I had an open house
Okay,
Sunday. Oh yeah, so we went out to lunch. Yeah, so
he has to look at his calendar.
yeah, I was at lunch. But I remember I was like, there's no way he well, first of all, everyone knows he didn't write it, but I was like, there's no way like his handlers knew this was coming. Like this was
Yeah,
I thought someone had stolen his phone.
yeah,
Like Kamala staffers had stolen his phone
yeah,
and like locked him out of his Twitter account. Like that was literally my impulse. And I don't even
yeah,
know if it was much more than that. I don't know that it was much more than that. Like there was no presidential seal.
yeah,
I guess rumors are that Jill was just going nuts
yeah.
and nobody knew. His chief of staff had no clue it was about to happen. So like
Nobody
I
knew.
think it was literally a palace coup.
Yeah, I think probably what happened. I mean, so I mean, yes, Palace coup and all these things. I mean, some of this stuff I think is planned out. Like, why do they have the debate in June or whatever? Right. Right. I think it's trot him out, have him fall flat on his face, and then have a rationale for getting him out of the race. Right. I think those things are going on, but I think the event itself, yeah, very much so. Like his
Well, but
communication staff just got flipped, and they published
yeah.
this without his consent.
Do you think here's the kicker. Do you think this had to do with the failure of the assassination?
100%.
Really?
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I think if that the bullet is a couple millimeters to the right, um we are talking yeah, Joe Biden just slides right back into the presidency, and then Kamala would eventually be president anyway. Um
Mm-hmm.
and so I think, yeah, and like the more stuff that's come out from that, right? It isn't just some random weirdo that took a shot at President Trump, right? You have like FBI people coming to his house, things like that. Like there's a lot, and just the fact that they left this building totally unsecured. I mean, come on, give me a break. There's more going on than just an oopsie, right? So I think, yeah, you would have had Nikki Haley being the Republican nominee later that week because all the delegates would be unbound. And yeah, sorry, I apologize. I was using French Revolution talk. It was because of the black dude at the RNC, the black pastor. He was like, he was chanted something like "miracle by millimeters" or something like that. So it was a quarter of an inch. Thank you, Rusty. And yeah, yeah. I mean, we were a quarter of an inch away from Nikki Haley being the Republican nominee,
Mm-hmm.
and all of it being, and the whole Trump thing just being over. Right, it's done.
Do you think
Right.
his last minute selection of Vance had to do with anything? Or do you think he's already had that in the cards? I was actually surprised he went with Vance.
I mean, I think he was on the short list of
Yeah.
two or three guys for sure in advance of that. But I think at that point and maybe even if he was leaning toward Vance anyway, you have to have a VP candidate that very closely mirrors your whole thing, right? Very closely mirrors what you are, your policy desires, and so forth. And Vance was that guy, and is that guy. So you have to have a VP that makes you not necessarily assassination proof, but
I honestly
highly
think
disincentivizes it. Yeah.
the Vance pick is interesting because like he's like the most heritage American like he's not trying to appeal to black people or women or all these
But the
things, right?
Hindu wife, CJ, the Hindu wife.
No, but you know what I mean? Like
I know
it's
exactly what you mean. Yeah.
maybe it's I don't know. It's refreshing. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
of people are like, no, he's got to choose a black guy. He's got to choose a woman. It's like he's not playing that game, which is nice.
No.
It's
Yeah.
refreshing.
Yeah. And to have him go to the RNC and say, guess what, guys? America is not an idea. Yeah. I want to get to that
Should I,
question too from Rusty.
should I black pill?
No, we are not. After November, you're allowed to black pill. Right after November, you could go into whatever elite theory, black pill conspiracy you want. But until then, it's all Trump all the time. We're 100. He's our guy. Come hell or high water, he's our guy. We're going to war with Trump. So no. But well, here's what I think about the PayPal mafia, Peter
First of all,
Thiel,
yes.
all of that.
First of all, yes. There's
Totally.
obviously some elite things going on here. I agree with that, and
Yeah,
there's obviously some factionalism going on. There's
without a
obviously
doubt. Yeah,
within the elite there are people that are more nationalistic, and that includes the J.P. Morgan Chase, the Wall
yeah,
Street. Like
yeah,
they're all together, and they're allied against the the WEF and the
yeah.
Davos Group and George Soros and the radical left. The AOC types. So yes, these are all elite plays. Tucker was involved in this kind of stuff. Eric
Yeah.
Prince is involved in all these people are involved. So
Well,
there are aligning of factions here.
100% agree with you. It's not. I'm not going to be like, no, it's not real. That it absolutely is real. 100%.
And I
The,
don't have a
the,
problem with that.
the difference is like if you want to do anything political, you have to have elites on your side at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the question is like, so like Mark Andreessen, for example, is probably like the biggest backer and probably the coordinator of most of these things. And right, why is he? I mean, the one of the very first back when like my Twitter account was pretty small, like maybe 5,000 followers, right? And I started writing on a Substack, and I haven't really written there for a while. One of the first like long things I wrote was on the Great Awakening, right? I wrote this long piece, kind of intersecting with a lot of Rothbard's theories about American religion and so forth. Some of it is a little bit of like the mold bug thesis and things like that. And one of the very first people to read it, not just read or share it or anything like that, one of the like first 10 people to read it was Mark Andreessen. And then he subscribed, right? And so here's this like Silicon Valley billionaire. It's like reading some random dude's article that has like a couple thousand followers on Twitter, like that blew me away back then, and like following him, since then, and keeping an eye on all these things. Like he very much like reads the same stuff we do, and is aware, like is plugged in online. And you think about that, it's like, I mean, some guys are like, oh, they're just trying to take advantage of us, right? They're just trying to make it seem like they're on our side, so we support Trump. And it's like the guys I'm talking about, like us, right? The people that watch our podcast and the people that love Stephen Wolf's work, or even just like the dissident right on Twitter. Right? How many people are there? Maybe 100,000 total, right? Within that group, they're not doing it to get like 100,000 votes, right? That's not the rationale or the reason why. I think to a certain degree, like they believe a lot of right wing or then there's Silicon Valley guys, so it's probably like NRX, right? Neo-reactionism or neo-reactionary beliefs, and so there's certainly a faction within the online right, and I think they, to whatever degree, like they get it, right? They get the stakes of what's going on, and they are, they're all in on it. Yeah, like this comment here. Yeah, go ahead and read it.
We should talk about this. So the commenter says it's funny that everyone is throwing Vance's "Trump could be Hitler" comment from 2016. Millions of men his age have shifted dramatically in the last 8 years. I totally agree with that. I mean, remember in 2008-16, we were, I mean, maybe not you. I was borderline libertarian still. I wasn't voting for Trump. He was going to grow the government, right?
Yeah.
So this is, we've all shifted. We've all confronted the reality of politics. So I think Vance, I think even Peter Thiel, Blake Masters, all those guys are on the same trajectory.
Yeah. And I mean, just think about every single person like listening to this right now. Where were you in 2016? Right? What were you thinking in 2016? Like, yeah, exactly. So many of us have shifted, not just shifted to the right, but like have well-formed, well thought out views now that we did not hold in 2016 at all. Right. Oh, this is interesting. People getting banned for saying, well, good. Cause he didn't stage, it. It was real. It was not shrapnel. Like Newsweek is trying to say it was shrapnel. Or whatever, or the FBI is saying that. It's like, no, he got shot in the ear. That's what happened. And that's the biggest story of the entire year, no matter what happens with the election, right? That Trump got shot, right? Period. End of story. But yeah, I mean, going back to this point, like where we were at in 2016, and Vance in particular as well, like it's important to focus on that. Like, where was he? Here's this guy involved in venture capital in Silicon Valley and working his way up that hierarchy, right? Where would you have to be publicly in order to work your way up that hierarchy, right? You would have to be saying stuff like that. Which, I mean, forgive a little bit of like Machiavellianism or cynicism. But right, is it possible that a guy that was way further to the right than we were in 2016 was already ascending that hierarchy, right? Back in 2016.
I don't think it was Machiavellianism. I think it was just Vance trying to get out of it. I mean, did you read Hillbilly Elegy? I mean,
I did, yeah.
he was trying to get out of his background that was holding him back, and so
Yeah.
he played the
Yeah.
game not for Machiavellian reasons, but just because he had a whole new world opened up to him.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
since that time, he's come back to his roots. I think that's what's happening.
Yeah. He realizes the people that hate his people will always hate him no matter
Yes.
what.
Yes.
And I mean, I felt the same way. I mean, this is actually, and I've said this many times on the podcast before. So if people have heard this before, sorry. But I remember 2016, the primaries. It was like the day before. We were in Missouri at the time, Super Tuesday, and I was totally. I'm not voting. I haven't voted in a presidential election for many years. I'm just not going to vote. I tell my wife we're not going to go vote, and I read National Review, Kevin Williamson, his article entitled "The White Working Class Needs to Die."
Right.
I read that article and I begin thinking about that. I'm like, my dad was a white working class truck driver in Waseca, Minnesota. Everybody I grew up with in this town, right? They drink Busch Light and they chew Copenhagen. They love Donald Trump. And these people, these National Review guys that I hated them in 2016 for like libertarian reasons,
right?
Mostly like foreign policy and things like that. I knew they were evil people. They hate my people, right? They hate my people, right? They hate me and the
They're
people that
actually
I came from.
And this is like Bill Kristol always talks about how we need to celebrate the Great Replacement. But
Yeah.
the Great Replacement,
Yeah.
the people being replaced. I mean, my grandpa was a Democrat, but he was a Union Democrat, right? So he was more of a labor Democrat.
My mom's dad was as well. Yeah.
So the Republican elite, like the internationalist free market elitists that want to offshore his job overseas, that's why he hates them. So these things transcend the parties, and the Great Replacement affects the people that I grew up with as well. I mean, it's the same thing. And so, yeah, the Kevin Williamson, the National Review, that's the cause. Like those are the consensus people. They want to maintain the trajectory of 1980s liberalism.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I saw that. That was just like a visceral reaction to them saying that, where it all became clear, right? These people, they hate me, they hate my family, they hate everyone I grew up with, and I don't care. I don't at the time. I didn't particularly like. I thought he was entertaining, but I didn't, particularly like him that much. But I was like, all right, this is a big middle finger to these people, and we're gonna go vote for him, and I don't care anymore. He's our guy, right, from here on out, and it became much more clear. Like those were the stakes, right? The people in power, the regime, they hate us. They hate all of us, and they've always hated us. This isn't a new thing, right? They've hated us since the 90s, since the 80s, long ago, since before we were born. They've hated us and wanted us destroyed. And so did JD Vance come to that same realization? Probably, right? I think it's genuine and legitimate. And so, yeah, I mean, that's where I was at. And I think Vance is legit, right? He is the guy. And again, like, you're not going to be able to ascend to the halls of power without elite backing, without coming up through the elite circles. And so any guy that we're going to get is going to have those associations no matter what.
I agree. But like the thing is about like Vance is he does represent, like, the Trump people did their research. They were behind closed doors talking with Peter Thiel, even probably Elon Musk, like all of these PayPal mafia types. And the fact that they were able to persuade the Trump people that they were more trustworthy than whoever else Trump was considering is a significant indication that the winds are changing, and that this election is actually only the tip of the iceberg for what we're allowed to get. Because I bet in 5 more years, the types of VP picks. I mean, think about people like Stephen Miller. Like he's the one that's pointing Trump to 1950s Eisenhower precedent for Operation Wetback.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
they're very serious
you
about
can't
this.
you can't say that term. We'll be in
Oh, I
trouble.
can't. Oh,
Your mic
sorry.
cut out for a second. I don't know if that was YouTube censoring us.
Yes,
Um,
sure. Yeah, for Operation Heritage America, they
yes,
were like these things have precedent, and like so, I think there are what Trump signifies is the ability to change the narrative and the framing, change the
yeah,
priority scale. So like these are very important things.
yeah. I don't. Yeah, I want to reply to the '80s nostalgia guy here. 'Cause he's disagreeing. But like talking about the assassination attempt and things like that. Like, yeah, I think it's fine to question narratives and things like that. Of course, it is. The issue is like the larger political picture is right. The regime wants to pretend it didn't happen. They're going to downplay it the rest of the election, and, like even like there was a story yesterday that like Kamala Harris she has to have way more security now from the Secret Service because there's going to be threats against her because
Yeah,
she's a woman and she's black or whatever, and it's like no, it's like don't buy like the value of the photograph of Trump holding his fist up and things like that, like the event, the value of the event happening, right? Just of in terms of narrative formation, that matters more than was there a second shooter over there, or was that a piece of shrapnel, or did he cut his own ear when he went down to the ground? Right? Is it fake? Like no, like a guy died, right? Corey Compertory died, and Donald Trump wasn't up there like, all right, buddy, you're in on this, right? Make sure the bullets pass right by me, and they hit that guy over there, and oh, by the way, um, immediately you're going to get your head blown off. So thank you for being a martyr for the cause. Like that's not. It's so ridiculous. I'm
yeah,
sorry. It happened. It was real. Um, right. It was like it makes the narrative of him that doesn't make any sense at all. I don't. I don't get it. I mean, I am known to indulge in a conspiracy theory or two as well, and go down those roads, and it's interesting and fun and everything else. But like this happened, right? Corey Compertory is dead. Thomas Crooks is dead, right?
yeah.
That's real. And so and what you when you go down those roads, what are you doing, right? You're casting aspersions on it when the rest of the country, right? Every normie in the world sees, right, they just tried to kill Trump. They hate him. They don't want him to become president. And it's like that's true. That's 100% true. And so like it's not a thing of like, we're looking for a savior to fix him. Like we aren't. Maybe other people are. Lots of people
Did
certainly
you see
are.
my post on the meaning of Trump?
I did, the one that got Eric Prince to follow you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So my point was that like literally what people see in Trump is not a savior. They don't
yeah,
see him as someone who's going to fix America. He's not going to take us back to the Constitution. He's not going to conserve our rights or our way of life. But what he's going to do is he's a united force to tell the regime it does not matter what you tell us. We hate you because we know
yeah,
that you hate us. And
yeah,
so Trump is the one that you said is the most dangerous person. He's the worst guy ever. Okay, we're going to vote for him. That's
yeah,
the meaning of Trump.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
a delegitimacy force.
yeah, exactly. And what happens is, right now you have cackling Kamala Harris is the nominee, and so just think about November, right? What happens in November if she has 90 million votes, right? Like, and is installed as president of the United States, right? How much longer does the regime have at that point, right? How much legitimacy have they shed if they install her as president of the United States?
So yeah, we should talk about that.
Um,
First of all, I don't think they
yeah.
have what it takes to fortify things as was obvious last time around.
Well, they don't have like $500 million from Mark Zuckerberg this time around to do,
That's
and it
true
was
too.
employed to do exactly that.
Yeah, but also like, I mean, I mean, with Heritage's oversight or like they have boots on the ground in a lot of these
Yeah.
key cities now. So like
Yeah.
they're gonna, I mean, what they're gonna have to do is so obvious and blatant that I don't know how. I don't see this being a peaceful transfer of power either way.
Yeah, and not only that,
It's
right?
like Charles Haywood moment.
If they were just going to fortify it in November, they wouldn't do all these shenanigans with Biden and Kamala and swapping her out or swapping him out for her.
Right.
Right? They wouldn't do any of that. They just install Biden in November.
Do you think they've given up? Or do you think they can meme themselves to the presidency?
I think what has happened is right. The American regime, and we've talked about a lot of this in the past, and where it came from, and how it got built up, and everything else. Right, extremely powerful. Right, FDR builds this new America and the whole apparatus of the regime. Um, those were really competent people. Right, say whatever you will about them.
Yeah.
Right, they were highly competent people that knew how to wield power, right? And now they have all the levers of power still, but you don't. They're not omniscient, right? We often ascribe this like level of force, like they're playing 23-dimensional chess, right? And every little thing, it's like, no, I don't think they're that smart, right? And I think, yeah, like you said, are they memeing themselves into thinking that she can win? Probably, right? They probably are. They're going to run. I mean, like, look at the people that they install as the candidates to be president of the United States in the last few elections, right? Kamala Harris, totally repulsive, very stupid person, very evil person. Joe Biden, right, who has always been a laughing stock, and Hillary Clinton, right, the most disliked woman in American history, right? Those are the candidates that they line up, and just I mean, just look at the 2020 primary race should have shown you like what was up when like Pete Buttigieg somehow wins the Iowa caucus, and like all the weird stuff that went on there, and then randomly all of these candidates just drop out and endorse Biden.
Yeah.
Every single one of them, right? I mean, it was clear they get the call. You're dropping out. Biden is the guy. We've selected him. He's our guy. You're not going to go through the charade of a democratic process, right? And so right, that's what they do. Like if you want to maintain legitimacy as a regime, right, you would maybe install like popular people, right? People that people like, right? I mean, you could see it maybe with Obama, right? You can gin up support and manufacture consent for him, right? That was something that was due, or Bill Clinton, or people like that. Even as terrible as those guys are, right? You could at least see that, like, oh, these guys could be likable. Like I could see how tens of millions of people vote for them and so forth. But Kamala, Biden, Hillary, no, absolutely. Absolutely not. And so what it means is, right, they have all the regime has all this power, but they don't know what they're doing, and they can't but shed legitimacy rapidly, and they will, no matter what happens, whether they fortify it or not, right? They're going to lose a tremendous amount of legitimacy from whatever happens. And I think like this one from Squidward, right? If Shapiro or whoever ends up being the VP, and Vance talk about immigration, right? They're going to 100% agree. I don't think so. Like you had right at the RNC, you had official campaign signs distributed from everywhere saying mass deportation now, right? Yeah. They're not going to agree.
Well, the other thing is, I think Vance is smart enough to recognize that the 1965 Immigration Act, which eliminated the quotas, that were in place from the 1920s to the 1960s. I think Vance would say that was a bad decision, where Shapiro would say, no, that would be racially discriminatory. We can't have these quotas anymore. So like, I think that they have completely different attitudes about it. And it goes back to the meaning of America. Vance understands that we're a people and we have certain ideas, but they derive from us as a people, whereas Shapiro structures it the other way. We're a people because that's downstream from the ideas. And that whole dynamic between the relation of ideas and peoples impacts how you see things like immigration and quotas. And the whole point of the 1920s immigration acts were to keep America relatively homogenous. They literally, that's what Calvin Coolidge said. They were to make America relatively homogenous. And the 1965 act, which reversed all that, plays into the propositional nationhood mind that Shapiro subscribes to. So I totally disagree with that.
And I don't think he is going to be the VP candidate because of the Shapiro, because of the infighting in the Democratic Party over Israel and Palestine. I just don't think it's going to happen. I could be wrong. I thought Joe Biden was going to stay in the race. I could be wrong. But it's more than likely going to be like the governor of Kentucky, Andy Breshar, or my governor, Tim Walz. Like that's been like the dark horse getting him. And so and they're going to want to counterbalance it, right? And that maybe will show you how worried they are about Trump signaling the white working class is if they, take a white guy from the Midwest or the Rust Belt and put him on the ticket. I don't think it'll be like JB Pritzker. Is that what he's talking about? I don't think it's going to be him. I do highly doubt it. But I think it'll be one of them. But regardless, on the issue itself, right? That is a winning. They don't want to talk about immigration at all, right? As much as Trump and Vance don't want to talk about abortion, right? It's the mirror image issue, right? In this election, is the more they talk about immigration, the more it drives turnout and enthusiasm for Trump, right? 80% of the country, 80% wants mass deportations, right? That cuts well across the nominal political divide, right? Even the 40%, 30 or 40% of people that will vote for Kamala Harris, no matter what, want there to be mass deportations, right? It's very popular, extremely popular issue. And so the more they talk about it, and Trump did this, right? In the debate. I don't know if you only watched a little bit of it, but basically every question, if he could even tangentially bring it back to immigration, he did. And that's the reason why, besides Joe Biden like being nearly dead, that's the reason Trump won the debate is immigration, hammering that point forward. Obama likes Mark Kelly from Arizona. Yeah, he does, and we'll see what level of influence he has on. He wanted him to be the nominee, though. I think.
Does Obama still have do you think he's the head of the far left faction in the DNC?
I don't know about far left. I think like the biggest player in the DNC, without question, is Nancy Pelosi.
There too. Yeah, but Nancy Pelosi. So she represents the California side, which is the Kamala Harris side.
Mm-hmm.
Who represents like the old guard, like northeastern elite? Or are they all just pushed out by now?
I don't know. I think they're mostly pushed out.
I'm talking about like RF Kennedy Jr. types, like the old school.
He might drop out and endorse Trump
because
it's like the scuttlebutt. Like they're pushed out completely.
Maybe Trump ended them because like their last person was Clinton, Hillary Clinton, like their last rep, and he just destroyed that entire faction of the DNC.
Yeah, I think they were scattered to the wind. I think the DNC now is.
But Biden was from that side of things.
Oh yeah, he was absolutely, and that's
he was a compromise candidate.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know if there is.
So this is the final takeover. Do you think Obama still has that much sway? Because people are saying that he's controlling the White House. I don't see Obama
No,
that
I don't buy
involved
that.
in national politics, really.
I think, I mean, behind the scenes, he certainly has a lot of sway and is driving certain things. But I think it's Nancy Pelosi is the big player in all of
Yeah,
these
did you
things.
see the stuff about how she was saying, "Look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way," and did you see that?
No, I didn't. No, I
Yeah,
buy
no,
it though. Yeah.
yeah, she was like, "Look, she's been because Kamala Harris has been pushing to be the nominee for a while now, and Nancy
Apparently, yeah.
Pelosi was backing her, and she said, "We can do this the easy way or the hard way." Joe Biden was fighting it. Hunter Biden
Yeah.
was fighting it, obviously, because Joe's the only reason he's not in jail. But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but after this, she said, "Fine, you guys went the hard way, so we're going to do a coup." So I think Pelosi was controlling everything, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Euclid, if the Clintons have ways of motivating people that the Obamas don't have,
I
because
think
I
they
mean, you've
used
heard of his
to.
chef. His chef was motivated uh, to go for a swim, and so I don't know. I don't know. I think that um, that's they all play hardball that way, right? Inconvenient people have a way of disappearing among all of them, not just the Clintons, and so yes, Obama has influence, but I think he's not the biggest player in all of this. And he's not totally a cipher like Biden is, or Kamala Harris definitely is. Right? She's just a blank slate for the various interests to be represented. Like she has no. I mean, the only thing about her, right, as like a person, like she is incredibly repulsive and evil. Right? You could elaborate on being a Californian and being being very very intimately uh involved not in
We're in
that
touch with
way,
it.
not in that way. Not all Californians
Kamala
apparently.
Harris has been around, but not to everybody. Some of us were.
but when she, I mean, for instance, when she was attorney general there, right, she's the one that put David Daladin, I think I'm pronouncing his name right, in prison for exposing Planned Parenthood,
Mhm.
right? Just totally evil, malicious woman, and also puts all sorts of criminals back on the street. She is the one who, on like the second day of the mostly peaceful but fiery riots in Minneapolis, started raising millions of dollars for uh, people to get out of jail for burning things down. Like she, very, very, very evil woman, and
Mhm.
like Vance's comments about like childless cat ladies, like that's her, right? This woman that has no stake in anything. And I mean, think about it too, right? Literally an anchor baby is what she was, right? No connection to America whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
Rises in the political machine through various means, and and just wants power, and will do whatever it takes to get power, and very very evil, and loves to destroy everything that's true and is good and is beautiful, right? She just gets like a sick pleasure out of it, right? That's the personality type that she has, right?
Mhm.
It's not even right. We try to think about these things in terms of maybe 40 or 50 years ago, when you have like the old school liberals like the Kennedys or FDR, people like that, where yes, they're evil and do lots of evil stuff, but there still was this sense of, right, we are wielding this power, right? There is a willingness to solve problems and make life better for people and so on and so forth. Like they really did, I think, try to do that, even though they're very evil. But um, this is not that at all. This is someone who just exists to destroy all that is good and right, and gets a sick pleasure out of it. That's the way these people are, right? Like fully left wing, not just leftist in the sense of on the left side of the political spectrum in America, but still maintaining power, still administering a state that to some extent benefits its people.
Mhm.
Right? This is someone who just wants to destroy and kill us all.
Right.
Right? That is, I think people don't get the stakes here,
Mhm.
right? That like this is a civilizational conflict.
Yeah.
That here is someone, they win, and we are going to suffer greatly if she wins. And there's no. I mean, I remember in our libertarian days, we were like, oh, there's not really any difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. And they're like the last 4 years should show everybody there is a wide chasm between Trump and these people.
There's very little effective difference in the establishment of both parties.
I agree. Yeah.
In the ascendant factions of both parties, which the left's ascendant faction is AOC, right?
Yes.
In the Republican Party, the ascendants are like Vance and Trump. So the ascendant factions of each party are very different. The establishment, the 1990s establishment from both parties, they're basically the same. Like Mitt Romney and John Kerry, there's no difference.
Yeah.
You know?
No, exactly.
But politics is changing, and now the Republican Party is going to be the party of the right. It's going to be the party of Matt Gaetz and so on, you know, so
JD Vance and our people, right?
Well, our people we can work with, yeah.
Yeah, and some of it too is like the whole cat lady discussion. It's like, oh, why would you say those? It's like, well, because those people do not vote for Trump no matter what. Like, 60% of single white women vote for, or more. I think maybe 80%, like huge margin, right? Vote for Democrats no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas it's like 60, close to 70% of married moms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Married white women with children. Who do they vote for? Right? They vote for Trump and Republicans because right, they understand they have interests beyond just consuming enough wine and getting enough cat litter, right? Like that. Those are right. They're not just living these like hedonistic lives where it's like, all right, I'm gonna get everything I can out of life now, and then I'm dead, and that's all that matters, right? There are people that have children that have a stake in the future, right? That's why they vote the way they do, and so you should emphasize that and say, yes, we are the candidates for families and for children and for a future of our country, of our people, of your family, right? That's it. Yeah, this comment from Joseph is hilarious. Trump is currently polling at exactly 0% among black voters in Michigan, despite all of the pandering. Right, 0%, not just 1 or 2 or 9%, 0%. Not a single one. They could not find a single black person in Michigan that said, I'm going to vote for Trump. Yeah. Right. That pandering has to stop.
Well, right? I don't know how much I don't know if they'll do that pandering this time. It didn't pay off.
There's not going to be a platinum plan this time at all.
It was a complete failure. Complete failure. And I think that the big money behind Vance knows that too.
Yeah.
That's smart money. Like Elon and all those guys, like not Elon. But yeah, Elon, but also
Elon too, but yeah.
But like the PayPal mafia, they're smarter than that. They're not going to play that old politics.
Yeah, instead of $1 trillion for black folks, he needs to make it a quadrillion, and then they'll vote for him, right? No, it's absurd. I mean, some of it is like you're playing the game for boomers, where it's like, see, I've got black friends, I'm not racist, right? You do that, you pander to black people because it solidifies the boomer white vote, right? Mm-hmm. That's part of the. So you see that some of that still at the RNC, but what you have to signal clearly is working class white people, middle class white people. I'm your guy. I'm going to make life better for you and for your family. That's what you have to do politically, and make it. And you can't, right? Today, maybe in 5 years, right? You can just flat out say that. Today, it has to be all but saying that. We're going to deport 20 million illegals. We are going to bring trade back to America. We're going to drill for a lot of oil so that you don't have to pay for $4, $5 a gallon gas, right? Mm-hmm. Who is that for? That's for middle class and working class white people that have to go to jobs and commute and everything else and pay for their children's lunches, right? That's who you out of their own pocket. Like that's who you are going after, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, it should be obvious. I mean, there are some idiots in Trump's campaign that are like, no, we could just get the margins of like 1 or 2% more, then we can win. And Tim Harris, maybe the poll is rigged. Maybe. I mean, I've never seen someone poll at 0 before, so maybe it's rigged, but it's still pretty funny. but nevertheless, like playing that game, right? You'll have this, right? And this goes back to like Stephen Wolf's lone bulwark tweet, right? That like, why do black people vote for Democrats? It's because they vote on group interests. Because everyone in their whole community knows that Democrats, they're on our side. And even if I'm pro-life, even if I'm against gay marriage and have all the different social issues, right? What do they vote? They vote as a block, as a people together, right?
Yeah.
There's in-group preference among their people, and they vote that way. So it's just not going to happen ever. Yes, I think I think we are we're running out of steam here. And I've been so busy working on the house and things like that that I don't sleep anymore. People probably see me like sending tweets at midnight and then tweets at 5 a.m. So I just don't sleep. Got time to tweet, but or X post,
Take
right, whatever.
no like mental bandwidth to tweet. That's why.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm
I just fire them off, man.
Yeah.
You do the big long effort posts though, so that takes you some.
Once in a while, yeah.
Yeah. Well, where? Yeah, everyone's like, "Where is? We're all gonna make it? Where is he?" Like we
Is he moving to
unfortunately.
Tennessee? Is he moving to Tennessee?
I don't know. I hope so. Maybe if we get him to Tennessee, we'll have time for him to come
Maybe.
on the
That's
show.
cool.
That would be fun
Would
to
be
get him.
fun.
He's a real person. He's not AI like Joe Biden maybe is or is not. He's a real guy, a good buddy. But unfortunately, there's no time for we're all going to make it here today. But is there anything else? Like what are you doing with Chronicles right now? We gotta promo that before we head out.
I talked to John Harris this morning about the 1607 project documentary. So that was fun. But I haven't been writing anything. I've been so busy with work.
Yeah.
So I'm making this move to Tennessee. So I got to move the whole business. It's grueling. This is intense.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's very grueling.
And yeah, I mean, for me, I'm doing the same thing, man. I'm trying to get everything ready and get a house ready to sell, and also continue doing everything else. It's rough. Yeah, we should. Yeah, John Harris should have. We're all gonna make it on, since we won't. He deserves it. We're all gonna make it. Deserves going on John Harris's show. But yeah, I've been busy with that. I just got back from Texas, recording with Joel Webbin, and I'm going to be speaking at his conference as well. And oh yeah, and in October I'm speaking at the Eschatology Matters, Tim Bashong, his conference. I think it's like Christ Over Politics, I think is the name of it. So that's in October in Indiana. So I've got conferences there, and hopefully we'll get a promo code, like promo code Contra Mundum or something for the Webbin conference next April. So I've got that going on, and on top of that, yeah, I'm just getting ready to go. So no additional content, unfortunately. Are we? Yeah, CJ is a major Dallas hater. That's right. He hates Dallas.
I'm anti like suburban sprawl is what I am.
Yeah. And we are not going to allow suburban sprawl in Tennessee where we are.
No.
Totally forbidden. And so yeah, that's what I got going on. And yeah, hopefully if you haven't already, if you've made it this far through the live stream and the podcast, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe and share it with all your friends. We're going to have some more guests on now that we're, once we aren't busy anymore, we'll be able to have our guests on. We want to have Jeremy Carl on, maybe a few more surprise guests. I don't know. But that is, that's all we have for today. And if anything happens, right, because nothing ever happens until it does, and things are happening.
It's been a hard couple of weeks for me in my nothing ever happens.
It's been good for me. It's been good for me because I'm always ready to mash the "it's happening" button.
We had an assassination attempt and a coup. So
yeah, in as many weeks.
Yeah.
What's going to happen next week? I don't know. Maybe Yellowstone, the volcano will explode. I don't know.
Well, we already had that. We already had the Yellowstone thing. Remember?
No, maybe he's going to really go. I don't know.
There's omens. Let's say that.
Yeah, there are omens, absolutely. But thank you all for joining us here today. We always have a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone in the chat and for everyone listening. And stay
By the way,
peacefully
let me
dangerous.
just say
Oh,
this.
I
Like,
was signing off. You just stepped on my touchdown.
no. I need to say this. So, yes, we're gonna do election night live, and we're gonna be there all
Yes.
night if we have to. It's gonna be a
Yeah,
blast.
we're not going to let any pipes burst. We're
No,
going to be on the prowl for those things. So
we're
it's
gonna be
going to be
there.
it's
Yeah,
going to be live, mega live stream.
it's gonna be so much fun.
We
We're
will
gonna
have a
have
blast.
Andrew's gonna have so many tins of Zin.
Yeah, it's gonna
It's gonna be insane.
gonna be like right here. It's gonna be
Yeah,
wild. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's gonna be the
CJ's gonna
best
have so much
election.
kombucha. It'll be great.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I can't wait. And
I'm gonna be wearing a
man, stuff's
castor.
gonna be happening since then. I mean, we definitely after like the DNC. I mean, that's gonna be wild in Chicago and
Yeah,
all the protests that are gonna happen.
what week of August is that?
Hopefully not when you're moving on the road. I think it's the
No,
second
that's
week.
the second week. Yeah, so I'll be
Oh,
here for that. I'll be in California. So
all right, now I'm officially gonna sign off.
all right.
So no more interruptions. But yes, thank you all for watching, for listening. Stay peacefully dangerous, but very peaceful, but also very dangerous. And we will see you next time.